Um, so good weekend.
Ama-
Long weekend. MLK Day on Monday.
Amazing weekend.
Yeah, we took the day off. I think Ali was working a little bit because he's a nonstop worker, which is great. Working around the clock. But no, we had some exciting news come out with the Biden administration team as well. But before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves because we do tend to forget to do that sometimes. As you can see with this sign behind us, this is again the Below Carl Immigration Group. My name is Alex Carl. I am with Ali Balor, my law partner. And we have another little immigration video for you.
Yeah, so actually this Sunday, Alex was working as well because we were texting and, about Biden's immigration plan, which was not quite out of the blue. We've been hoping and praying, but the fact that he came out.
Yeah, a little bit more comprehensive than we thought, which is a good thing, correct?
Absolutely.
Rather than kind of piecemeal.
Absolutely. I think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris fully understand that as part of the healing process, really, there's a whole segment of the population that lives in the country that also needs to heal. We all need to heal together. And this particular, Alex, I've been an immigration attorney now for coming up almost 25 years. That's a quarter century.
It's amazing.
I'm old.
That's awesome. Looks good though.
But the point is that when I was a baby attorney, immigration attorneys older than me, they were waiting for immigration reform. And, we came close a couple of times, most recently in 2013, where...
What happened then?
There was a gang of 8 senators that...
Okay. Oh yeah, I've heard that thrown around actually.
Gang of 8 basically went back and forth. I think came down with the legislative language even, and then it fell apart.
Okay.
Just like it has done, throughout the 25 years that I've been around within this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So we were hoping, a new administration, and this, by the way, is a bipartisan failure on the Democratic side and on the Republican side. It's been a bipartisan failure by every president, by every Congress for 25 years. So, the thirst is there. The population, American people, the immigrant population just have this desire for this to be done. And I think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris recognize that clearly. To come out so strongly, on day 1, which is tomorrow, to propose this and come up with actual legislation to submit to Congress.
Yeah, and it seems like it's on the top of their agenda as well.
Yeah.
Which is great. Now, what specifically is in this comprehensive immigration reform package, let's call it?
Yeah. So I have a list.
Perfect.
So first of all, path to citizenship. By any account, we have the low number is what, 11 million, up to several million more.
Yeah, I've been seeing 11 million thrown around a lot.
Undocumented individuals that are here, that are, contributing, working, doing everything for the rest of us, and really for themselves. We have very highly successful individuals who are undocumented.
Yeah, these are members of our community. They've been here, most of them probably for a number of years. Their kids are in school, they have jobs, likely been paying taxes, etc. They're as American as you or I, just not in name, really.
Just not a name, exactly. So, it comes in, so the way I see the proposal, it comes in like 5 little silos. So the first silo is path to citizenship for all these folks. Anybody who can prove that they've been living in the U.S. as of January 1st, 2021, right, gets a temporary status for 5 years. And then they can qualify for a green card, get a green card if they're otherwise qualified, right? If they're not...
they don't commit certain crimes. Yeah, crimes, the first thing that comes, probably public charge is still going to be an issue as well, I'd imagine. Maybe not.
Well, no, because public charge is going to take that one out.
Okay, well, good. There you go.
Yeah. So they get a green card after 5 years, right? If everything goes right. And then after that, another 3 years, then they become a citizen. So pathway to citizenship, minimum count, 8 years.
Awesome. And they had to have been here on January 1st of 2021, correct?
Yes.
Interesting. I wonder what the application for that 5-year temporary status will look like.
Yeah,
When it comes out, you best believe we'll be on top of it as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the first silo, right? The second silo is border security, which, the interesting thing about Joe Biden's proposal that we know thus far anyway.
Yeah.
Every president and every Congress, like I said, failure after failure after failure preceding him, right? In order to entice Congress, they always say, okay, well, we're going to enforce border security and deport X number of people. And then if we're successful, then we can go and do legalization for anybody that's remaining, right? That's been the formula, the failing formula for 25 years. Because what happens is the government ends up deporting and separating a whole bunch of families, and Congress never really steps up to their side of the bargain to provide legalization, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's bypassing border. He's not enticing Congress with further deport. What Obama did. Obama deported a whole lot of people in the hopes and prayers for Congress to do something. You know what? He did all of that, and Congress did zip. So Joe Biden is hip to that, and he's too smart to fall for that. So the border security aid, he's reaching out for the root causes of migration, why people come up north from the Northern Triangle countries in Central America,
Mm-hmm.
the violence, the cartels, the economic conditions.
Yeah.
So he's going to address, smartly the root cause of these caravans that come north, right? So if these people have industries, if these people have jobs and they're not scared for their lives because of the cartel and because, money's going around and they feel secure, they won't want to immigrate.
Yeah, they won't risk their lives in making that treacherous journey from their home country to the U.S. And it's not a first-class ticket into the U.S. You're traveling via ground. You're risking your life to get there. So yeah, their situation in their home country needs to be pretty darn bad in order for them to decide to try to make that trek to the U.S. So I like that. I like that Biden is focusing on why these individuals do make that trek and trying to kind of, put the funds into ways to make their situation better in their home country. So, kind of reducing their need or want to come here.
Smart, right?
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah. Now, this doesn't mean Biden's going to have open borders and there's going to be no CBP officers and no border wall by any means. He's just not going to silo millions, billions, whatever it may be, of dollars into reinforcing a physical wall, right?
Or the private prison system, essentially jail people for not having documents and then have taxpayers pay for every single bed, supporting a private prison industrial complex. I think that's immoral.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's trying not to do.
Right. But when you hear, it's just ridiculous when you hear open borders thrown around in regards to the Biden presidency. That's just not the case.
You just read something out loud that irritated you, right?
Yeah, they're offering a pathway to citizenship to 11 million undocumented individuals in the U.S. And in parentheses, they're going to jump the line of the 2 million legal immigrants here to citizenship. No, they're not jumping any line. One, there is no line, and they're not jumping a line. Like Ali just said, first, they need to get a 5-year temporary status to even apply for permanent residency. And then you need to be a permanent resident, be admissible as a permanent resident for 3 years before you can apply for citizenship. There's no jumping of the line of already legal permanent residents.
And the guy that said that, by the way, is, I guess he's trying to run for California governor as a Republican, right? Good luck with that.
He is. Let's not get too political.
No. So the third silo is the, he wants to clear the immigration backlogs. We have backlogs everywhere. We have backlogs
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
at consular levels. We have backlogs at court level.
USCIS level.
Every possible backlog you can think of, we have, right? So he wants to clear all of that by hiring more people, competent judges, competent DHS workers, employees that will help, process these applications. But
yeah, making the system more efficient, maybe some technological improvements with things. I mean, who knows? We'll see. But yeah.
Absolutely. So right now, and this has been the case for, again, as long as I've been an attorney, there's country caps. Each country can only have a certain amount of immigrants that come out and become immigrants here. So he wants to eliminate country caps. So in effect, level the playing field.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So that's logical. The other thing that he's going to do, we have finite number of immigrant visas, and say a family of 5, parents and 3 kids want to immigrate. They take 5 visas, but only 1 is primary. So he wants to get rid of the derivatives counting as a visa. So a family of 5 would be counted as 1 visa, and all of a sudden you have 4 visas available that were not available, before this, bill.
So a derivative now is a child who is above the age of 18 considered a derivative? Or
yeah, under 21.
So it's under 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. I like
so, and he wants to give more control to states and cities as to how they want to allocate resources to have all these new immigrants assimilate in, local, in localities. So he wants to give the power back to local governments, cities, and states on how to resettle perhaps refugees. They have a bigger say as to what happens to these immigrants when they come in. I mentioned immigration judges, increased immigration judges, but also, we have a lot of kids at the border, right? I mean, you've done kid cases.
Yeah.
Heart-wrenching.
Definitely.
They're children, and a lot of times they have no parents.
Yeah.
Right. So he wants to provide legal counsel for children so their rights can be protected. Right now, a child that's 3 years old, 2 years old, 5 years old, heck, 15 years old, they have no legal counsel and they have no money. Right.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a natural solution, really.
I mean, that's what Jesus would do.
Definitely.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and the 5th silo is workforce enforcement. So right now we have I-9s and E-Verify, which by all accounts really aren't
workplace enforcement.
Yeah. Workplace enforcement. Yeah. By all accounts, they're not really ideal because, I mean, you just did an I-9 today. Now you're an expert, right? You know what these documents look like because you've seen them.
Right.
But imagine if you weren't. Why don't you talk about your experience today?
I mean, if you were not an expert, I guess it would be pretty easy to overlook or, not be able to decipher what document is authentic or not, or valid or not. I mean, it seems, pretty easy to get through or bypass that I-9 kind of.
Yeah, so if you don't know what an employment authorization document looks like, how would you know if it's real?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem with I-9. E-Verify, it's kind of pricey on the part of the employer to have E-Verify, in place. So you'd have to be kind of a bigger employer to really be equipped. It doesn't solve the fundamental issue as for employers to hire people that have legal right to work in this country.
Okay.
Right? So he's going to change that a little bit, the proposal, and he's looking at the POWER Act, which recently was introduced in both in the House and in the Senate, and it has sufficient U.S. labor protections in place. So, U.S. workers aren't getting screwed, but at the same time, employers know who they can hire and who perhaps they can't hire. So this is all through legislation.
Which means it's going to take bipartisan support, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not through executive action.
No, but he has ideas about executive orders as well.
Now, which one are you most excited about in these?
Well, I mean, really all of them, but I think, Muslim ban has been problematic since it was enacted back in 2017, really within the first things that Trump did. And, the reason it's problematic, it's not, multitude of reasons, but I think the primary, if you're concerned about people coming into the country and, security issues, you want to vet them. And the fact is that US law already, even before Trump, even before Obama, really forever, in particular since 9/11, has been very good at vetting people, right?
Definitely.
Background checks, anybody that gets a visa has to go through extensive background checks. People just don't get visas to come here.
No.
So that was already in place, right? So when you do like a blanket ban, Muslim ban, it just doesn't make sense, even if you are gung-ho on the security part.
Right.
Because then you're preventing a whole class of individuals unable to come.
Business owners,
Doctors,
teachers, nurses, you name it.
I mean,
just because they're Muslim doesn't mean they're some like.
Right? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just really ridiculous. So Muslim ban is going to be lifted. Now, it doesn't mean that every Muslim applicant on, day 2 is going to be at the border. No, because US law already, protected United States homeland through its very extreme, rigorous background checks.
Yeah.
And that happens whether you're Muslim or Buddhist.
Yeah, and it will always do that, and we support that. Of course.
And we support that.
Yeah.
Of course we support that.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we support.
So that's an executive action, though, that he can say no more Muslim ban, correct?
Yeah, he's going to lift that tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
12 o'clock, 12:01, he's going to lift it.
What about DACA?
Yeah, so DACA is, it takes an act of Congress, but what he can do is to preserve DACA. Right now the US government is actively fighting in court to overturn DACA. He can put a stop to that.
Okay.
That's within his powers.
Okay.
Another executive action that he's going to take, he's going to set up a family reunification task force. Now, hundreds of children were separated forcefully. This is like, it's out of horror movies, but at our southern border, US individuals, US officers physically separated children from their parents forever. Hundreds of kids are forever separated from their parents. We don't know where the parents are, and the kids are in our custody. So he's going to have a task force that, is going to fund it. And the task force is tasked to find the parents of these kids that have been without parents for years now.
Seems like a natural solution to me as well.
It's insane. Public charge rule you mentioned.
Yeah, so he'll do away with the entire public charge rule, or
executive order,
or the new and improved kind of public charge
No,
stance.
the way I understand it is, it's going to be gone.
Okay.
It's going to be gone. Then a more humane refugee asylum policy. Now, there's an issue, right? Remain in Mexico. What Trump did, it forced thousands of individuals that are applying for asylum and would ordinarily be on the US side of things. They're now forced to stay in camps in Mexico. Thousands of people, right? This population has grown, right? So, like you said, Biden is not proposing open borders. He's
That's
not
where-
going to
yeah,
open.
Exactly. That's where you hear this open border rhetoric again when you mention the new, when you mention the asylum policies that he may change.
Right. So he's going to follow CDC guidelines
Okay.
and follow the science and find, over the course of many months, hopefully, kind of reduce this population in Mexico and let the people that otherwise qualify to come in and kind of process them, as opposed to them being stuck in Mexico indefinitely.
Right. And, the open border policy is ridiculous because, correct me if I'm wrong, Ali, I mean, if you present yourself at the border of Mexico and you express fear of returning to your home country, they don't just simply say, okay, come into the US and then here's your court date. No, you need to pass a credible fear interview process right then and there with an officer, an officer or a judge.
Well, by an asylum officer that's trained.
Correct.
Because right now, CBP officers that aren't trained in asylum matters, they're making life and death decisions.
Right.
Which is
Now,
insane.
And that's a very detailed, interview, let's call it.
Yeah.
If you don't pass that, then you're not allowed in to then seek asylum.
Yeah, not everybody gets to come in.
No. So even without this remain in Mexico policy, don't be scared that we're going to have the hundreds of thousands of people coming into the US seeking asylum. That's just not necessarily the case.
It's just never been the case.
Yeah, it never has, despite what you hear. So just want to clear that up.
And then there's a whole issue of TPS, right? So temporary protected status is given to folks from certain countries that have suddenly faced
natural disasters, economic turmoil, war. Yeah.
Right. So now somebody that has temporary protected status, TPS, they can adjust status, get a green card in certain circuits because there's a split in circuits. I think it's for sure it's the 9th, 6th, and I believe it's the 8th circuit that recognizes TPS as an admission. So those people, if they otherwise qualify, they can apply for a green card. But the whole vast majority of them living in circuits that don't recognize it as an admission, they're unable. They're just like stuck in that temporary purgatory.
Right.
Right. So he's going to put an end to that. And there's no specifics as to how, but it's on his radar as one of his executive order things that he wants to do.
I like that as well. I think it's something that does need to, yeah.
I think so too. So the other thing that I think we should point out is this is all not happening on day 1 or day 2.
No, this is kind of his agenda, right?
His agenda. Certain things are going to happen on day 1, Muslim ban, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Legislation is going to be submitted to Congress for the reform part that we talked about earlier. So it's a process. We're just, ecstatic that is high on his agenda.
Yeah, which I believe it should be. The negative rhetoric we've had these past 4 years in regards to immigration has been pretty ridiculous. And I'm just glad Biden is kind of taking the leadership role, switching not only the narrative and the rhetoric and reminding us that we all are immigrants and these people are part of our community, but also hopefully making some important legislative changes to the immigration process and system to make it more efficient, more fair, and better for everyone.
Yeah, really long overdue.
Yeah.
Long overdue. So that's what's going on, guys. Subscribe.
Yeah, if you have any
buttons right there.
Definitely. If you have questions, leave a comment. If you like the video, leave a comment. If you don't, leave a comment. I think it all helps our little algorithm with YouTube. So give us a little shout out. Yeah, and we're going to be monitoring this situation, staying on top of this, of course. And we're well equipped to help. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Great.
Thanks for joining. We'll talk to you soon.